Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Uncanny Media, the show. At least I assume it's going to be great. It's me, your good buddy Spider, doing what I do. I got the mic unmuted this time, like I was supposed to. And they're supposed to be... I think they're mostly done now, to be honest, but there's supposed to be storms going on right now across the entire region. Let me double check what it says here. We didn't get much here. We got a little bit of rain. But we were under a severe thunderstorm watch, severe thunderstorm warnings. There was a tornado warning just a bit south, between 7 and 10 miles south of here. The siren went off. I don't know if it actually coalesced into a tornado. But the radar still shows some bad weather over the next couple hours. So we'll see. Hopefully I haven't lost power this season with any of these early season storms. But you never know what could happen. So I'm keeping my ears open, keeping my eyes open, and we're going to find out. And that tells you how the weather is going. It got very warm today. Like, the temperature went up from the 60s to the high 70s within just a short amount of time, which is probably what caused issues with the atmospheric pressure and all of that and all the conditions you need for a storm, because there's a cold front and a warm front and all this different mixture of air. And I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know the exact ins and outs about all of that. I know some of it, but I'm sure someone a bit more scientific knows a bit more about that than I do. But it's still really warm. It's what's the temperature outside? It says it's 59 degrees outside, but it's still like 78 inside my house, which after having all this cold weather, it's pretty warm. If this was in the middle of summer, 78 wouldn't be so bad, because anything shy of 80 degrees in the middle of summer is pretty good. But here, at the very beginning of spring, 78 feels a bit much. I suppose you could say. So how are you folks doing? How are you feeling? I'm a bit tired. I got up early today. I had to charge the battery on my car because it's been giving me some issues, and I didn't think too much of it. We're replacing both of the front lower control arms. I don't know. I'm not a car expert. I know some things. I can change my oil. I can fix my brakes, kind of. I can replace my battery. I can check my fluids. Different things. I've replaced a starter on a car before. Didn't really go very well. A throttle sensor didn't go very well. So I'm not a mechanic. I know some things and I can get some things done, but I am not a mechanic. I would rather have somebody else just take care of that for a good price. Not, I don't want to spend big bucks on this kind of thing, but excuse me, I'm tired. Like I said, I woke up early because I had to charge the battery so that we could get the car into the shop. And then on the way back, the battery completely conked out. We tried to jump it, we tried to charge it, it wouldn't do anything. So we had to rush to AutoZone to get a new battery because we got as far as the park here in town, Monument Park. So we weren't even home, and we couldn't really push it home because it's all uphill to get from the park to the house. So, and I didn't want to leave it down there because if I would have left it overnight, I would 100% know that someone in this town would have broken into the car. There's not a whole lot in there, but there is a lot of things that I don't want stolen. They're not of high value as far as to other people, I don't expect, but they are of high value to me in that they mean things to me. I don't want them stolen. I don't want to have to replace them, if at all. So we had to get all that done today to get it back to the house. And now it runs fine. We still need to finish the rest of the control arm issue. So it's only half done. And then it should be safe for another however long it takes before something else breaks down. Because that's cars. That's cars for you. So that was my day. I had to get up early for that. And I don't nap during the day. I don't go to bed early. I stick to the same schedule, more or less. So I'm a bit stretched out. I'm a bit stretched out. If you know what I mean. And I can't seem to stop yawning every few seconds. This is not going to be a sleepy episode. I'm going to try not to be sleepy this entire episode. But, we'll see what happens, right? So it's raining, the car's giving me issues, I'm drowning in debt, as per usual. It's all good. But let's talk about some things. Let's talk about Tiger Woods. Which was not... this was not the first thing I expected to be talking about here in 2026. Many of us know when I was growing up, Tiger Woods was the fresh new face of golf. He was a golfing prodigy. He was great. He won trophies and he won tournaments and all these other kind of things, right? He was fantastic. Heard about him all the time. He was on cereal boxes. He was on commercials. He was the guy. He was golf. He was the golfing guy. And some years later, when I became an adult, good old Tiger got into other things. He got into drinking too much, got into arguments with his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, and there was a cheating scandal, and there was a bunch of stuff. I think he went to rehab, like, for alcoholism. I don't know. A lot of stuff happened, and his career came crashing down around him. He eventually came back to the golfing scene, returned, did relatively well, was not anywhere near his peak, but he's not a terrible golfer. And I mean, I can't golf. I'm rubbish at golf, so I'm not one to judge. I'm not judging. But he seemed to be doing okay. And then just a day or so ago, I saw this story come up. I did not expect it because I hadn't heard much about him because he hadn't been, he wasn't a big sensation in the golf world anymore. He was just a guy who played golf well. He wasn't always number one. He wasn't in the top brackets all the time. He just played golf well, and he was kind of fading away into golfing obscurity, so to speak. So this came up, and it surprised me. The news headline was Tiger Woods arrested, charged with DUI after rollover crash. And apparently he was driving drunk and he rolled his SUV in Florida and it ended up on its side, and he was not injured in the incident. He got away with no major injuries to speak of. He's a lucky man. He's a lucky guy, despite the fact that now he's been arrested with a DUI, and it's going to further hurt his golf career and his legacy, as they say. I know a lot of sports people are like, oh, it's going to tarnish his legacy. Oh, he was such a role model for the kids, and that kind of stuff. So I didn't really expect that. I didn't expect Mr. Tiger Woods to be back on the sauce, so to speak. Not that that's problematic, because you guys know I'm a drinker. I enjoy a drink. But I don't get into rollover crashes in Florida with my drinks. So, unfortunate news for Mr. Tiger Woods. Because you kind of felt like, oh, well, he's turned his life around. He's got a new girlfriend. He's got, I don't know if he's got a new girlfriend now, but he'd after his big messy scandal with the cheating and whatever before, he'd been seeing somebody else and it seemed to be going well, and he wasn't big in the news anymore for good or for bad, which is probably for the best. And then all of a sudden, oh, he's DUI rollover crash. So, fortunate that he's unharmed. Unfortunate in this. I don't think this is going to do him any favors. I think he's put further damage to his future golfing career. He might be closer to retirement than he expected at this point in his life. And that's the thing that happens with athletes that get picked up young, like in their early 20s and things, that they're like, oh yeah, they're a phenom, they're so good at their craft, they're getting endorsements and sponsorships and Nike deals and on TV, and they're famous and they're getting $1 million merchandise deals and things, and it ruins people. I mean, look at LeBron. I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait a second, what do you mean look at LeBron? What's wrong with LeBron? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him. He's obviously a talented guy. I can't play basketball. I'm not going to say anything like that. I can't be jealous because I don't really care for basketball and I don't know how to. I know how to play, but I'm not good, and I'm not tall enough to be anywhere near good at basketball. You have to be a certain height. Basketball's a tall man's game. I'm not short, but I'm not a tall man. I'm average height. Right? I'm not exceptional in the height area. But LeBron got picked up right out of high school. Instantly got sneaker deals, instantly got a bunch of other stuff, raised a bunch of controversy, and now there's new laws. There's new laws that say that you can recruit kids in college for their likeness for products and things if they're phenomenal in their college sports, and then they have to get paid for it. Because before people had been poaching people's images to be like, oh yeah, look at this guy, he wears Nike shoes, buy Nike shoes, but they weren't getting paid for it at all. But now they can because their likeness being used. They used to be that they couldn't have access to their likeness until they were out of college, I guess. I don't know. It seemed like a weird way to handle all that, but I don't think they should be getting endorsement deals in college anyway. Because while yes, you're there playing sports on the big sports team, the Big Ten, the whatever, you're also in college for an education. Or you're supposed to be. I don't know. I know a lot of people that go to college these days that don't really learn too much. And that's not to hate on anybody who knows me, who has a degree. And if you've put in the work and you've studied and you've gotten a lot of knowledge, hey, that's great. I'm glad for you. I really am. But on the other hand, I know a lot of other people who brag about, yeah, I've gone to college, I've got this, I've got that, and they don't know a whole lot. Specifically some people who I've talked about via legal proceedings on this podcast before. That person, they like to brag about their schooling and about their higher education, and yet they're not doing very well. Because none of that is working for them, because they went for the wrong things and they don't know what they're doing, and no amount of paper or good grades or any of that is going to guarantee that anything that's being taught to you is going to stick, or that you're going to be able to use it effectively. Okay, I'm just saying. But yeah, LeBron got picked up straight out of high school, and he got huge deals and he grew from that point on. He had this sense of his quote unquote greatness and his talent and everything like that. And yeah, it's good to be confident if you're good at something, and he's obviously good at basketball. I'm not going to say he isn't. I'm not going to say he's terrible, because I can't compare him to other basketball players because I don't really know that many. I know a few names, like Kevin Durant. Is he still a basketball player? That guy that goes no 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 in the commercials when he blocks stuff. I don't know. I don't know these things. I'm not a sports guy. But he grew up with this sense of I'm so great, I'm so awesome, and that has kind of leaked into various parts of his personality later on, which is unfortunate. He has done a lot of good. He's given a lot to various charities. He's paid for things for his family. He's done a lot of good things, but he's also grown entitled and expectant that the world will bend its knee for his every want because he's good at sports. And that's a thing that happens. These young guys, young men and women, they get picked up and they get this idea that I'm a super athlete, I'm the best of the best, and I deserve the best of the best. And then later on, as they grow a little bit older, maybe the things don't work out for them anymore, or they're got to pass to the next person in line, or they get injured, they get hurt, and maybe it's something that severely stops them from being able to do what they do as well as they can do it. And then where are you? You get traded to a different team that might not be as good, or you get benched more often, or whatever, and your contracts are less, and then your whole life kind of falls apart because you got used to spending all this money on a regular basis and on doing all these things that cost all this much, and now all of a sudden you don't have the same income stream. I don't really have a way to fix that, though, because that's part of our hero worship culture. I've talked about that on the show before, so I'm not going to linger on it too much. We have this thing about hero worship and about putting people on pedestals and being larger than life. And we're shocked. We are shocked and concerned when they turn out to be just like the rest of us with certain needs and certain problems and certain issues, and then the scandals come up, and some of it is they don't know how to act because they didn't grow up right, because they got thrust into the spotlight and they didn't learn the correct way to act. So now they're causing criminal mischief, so to speak. So that's Tiger. It's Tiger Woods. I don't know what to say. I thought things were going smoothly for him, and apparently they're not. Apparently he's still wrestling with things. Let's talk about something else, something local. And there's a couple of parts to this. This delves into, I don't want to necessarily call it the local wildlife, because these are people who live in the state, but they're not necessarily local to me. The statewide trolls, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a good name for it. In my town, of course, we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I've talked about this before. I've had lots of complaints. I have had lots of complaints. I'm not going to go on a complaint rant about the Hall of Fame. I'm just going to point out some stories that came up in the news recently. Now, initially, a little bit after I moved here, there had been big plans for the Hall of Fame. They put a complex up there called the Hall of Fame Village, and they build it as, and I've said it before, just as a reminder, they build it as the Disneyland of football. They wanted it to be this big, extravagant thing where tourists would show up year-round, and they would ride rides and play games and go to restaurants and stay in hotels and play casino games and all kinds of stuff, right? They had these huge plans. They used eminent domain to buy surrounding properties to knock down for parking and for this and that and blah, blah. And eventually, they ran out of money. Now, it's a publicly traded company. It was. It's not anymore. That's a big stickler. At the time, it was a publicly traded company, the Hall of Fame Village. They had stock because they were trying to get investors, like the community, involved. They're like, oh, yeah, you'll buy stock. You'll have stock in the Hall of Fame. And the stock was essentially worthless. It was pennies. And it got worse. A little, like maybe last year before, they started rumbling that, well, we can't get any more tax breaks on this thing because the people aren't going for the levies and the bills and whatnot. They're not allowing us to get that. We can't expand because we don't have funding. We're having issues. We're having to breach our contracts. They had a contract with an air conditioning company for one of the buildings, and that fell through, and they left the job unfinished because they weren't getting paid. And so they got the idea, because people were starting to be like, hey, where's my money going towards? Because it's publicly traded, you have to publicly vouch for where the money is. Okay? All the investment capital, you got to account for it. And they got to the point where they didn't want to do that anymore. They were like, this is a problem. We sometimes don't know where all this money went because we've got so many issues. We're going into debt with this project. So they rumbled about the idea to take the company private again and buy back all the stock and like pay cash dividends, which wasn't much because the stock wasn't worth much anymore. So the people who had stock didn't get much anything. That went through. They got authorization, went through all the legal stuff, and they took the company private again. A new investor came in to get the project back on track. Now they don't have to be accountable for the money to the state or the town or to whoever, except maybe for tax purposes. But other than that, they don't have to tell anybody what goes in and what goes out. So there's a water park that they're trying to build up there. It's been a big empty building for a few years now because they lost the funding and they couldn't finish it. They recently wanted to start work on it again, so they did some things, not enough to get a whole lot of headway, but to make it look like, oh yeah, they're getting back to work. Didn't hear much about it. About a week ago, well, it was after my last episode, so it wasn't a full week ago, but it was almost a week ago. A story goes into the newspaper that the company that runs the village is selling its amusement park rides. Now, they had 3 rides, one of which was this big Ferris wheel that you could see from the highway going by. It was a big, striking thing, like, oh, there's something up there. Oh, look, there's the Hall of Fame. There's a ride up there. Oh, my gosh, there's something going on up there. So it was a big visual attraction, regardless of whether it was worth going to or not. I never went up there, so I don't know if it was fun, if it was a good time. I don't know. But they are selling that and the other amusement park rides, and they put out a statement where they said, we don't want this to be an amusement park atmosphere anymore. We want to focus on the football. Because, that's what it's supposed to be. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Fame Village. It's not just the village. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Everything should revolve around the fact that there's football memorabilia, because it's a glorified museum, right? So they said we're going to focus more on that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a step in the right direction. It might not make them as much money, but, who's to say all these rides and everything, we're going to make them a whole bunch of money separately anyway. They had this big expectation that they were going to get so many tourists and everything, and the locals were going to spend their money up at the restaurants and things. But everything up there, from what I heard, was marked up super high. It was like a mini mall, and it was just ridiculous prices. So why would you spend extra? One day after that story came out that they were selling the rides, they were looking to sell off the rides, and talking about the pivot in how they're going to treat the project, another news story comes out. Vandalism. Vandals. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I took another screenshot. Vandals break into and damage Hall of Fame Village water park site. And it continues to say, vandals caused more than $100,000 worth of damage at the water park construction site at the Hall of Fame Village. That's pretty suspiciously timed, don't you think? $100,000 worth of damage to the unfinished water park building. It's an indoor water park. The very day after the company has said we're going to start selling off these rides because they need the money, presumably, right? Not because, we want to focus on football. It's because they need the money. Okay, they got debts to pay. They got bills. So the very next day, they get vandalism for $100,000. And you might think, that's just bad luck, right? The vandals are currently unknown. They're going to try to pull camera footage. And the vandals got in through a door that was supposed to be locked, but wasn't. Now, does this sound legit to you? Does this sound like anything other than perhaps an insurance scam? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Of course, I don't know. I'm not going to throw around a bunch of allegations without having a bunch of proof, but with the evidence currently being presented, it seems awfully suspicious. It seems awfully convenient and awfully suspicious. They're trying to sell off these rides, and each of these rides is worth several $100,000. Okay. So, I have to wonder. And we've talked about the neighborhood app, the Nextdoor app, it's called. It's like local Facebook almost. I mean, it's not supposed to be like Facebook. It's supposed to be for coordinating neighborhood events and helping your neighbors with repairs and recommending handymen and mechanics and helping find lost pets and various things. It's for local neighborhood people to connect with each other for neighborhood issues. It's not supposed to be for posting memes and for posting the same drivel that you get on most social media. It's supposed to be for something, right? But you can discuss different things, and I think it's important that we can occasionally discuss things there. The various local news outlets are connected to Nextdoor, and they'll sometimes post articles or news stories. And one of them was a Cleveland station that was talking about, the vandalism at the Hall of Fame. And it generates, I don't know if this is AI or if this was one of their reporters that generates these questions. I think it's AI probably, but regardless. It asked, what do you think about the vandalism at the Hall of Fame Village? Which, that's one thing. But then it went on to ask, what can local neighbors do to keep the village safe? Or to improve the safety of the village? As if we are a private or a militia, as if we're a bunch of vigilantes going to get together and be like, I don't think the vandals should be taking out our Hall of Fame Village. Let's all band together and go provide security up there. Like, it's a ridiculous question. And while I don't talk very much on this Nextdoor app, because I've found that a lot of people who use it think it's Facebook, and they think that it's just a joke, and they like to post ridiculous things, and we butt heads once in a while on different things. So I stopped posting when it was clear that it wasn't a site for me. I did answer this AI generated, I assume, question. I said, you know what, it's not our responsibility. We've got other things we're dealing with. It shouldn't be local people providing that. They should have a security team of their own to take care of that, right? That's common sense. I'm not going to go up to the Hall of Fame and stand watch. I'm not the neighborhood watch of the Hall of Fame Village. In my local neighborhood, yeah, I keep an eye on things. I watch out the windows, not constantly, but if there's suspicious vehicles around or if there's people walking through that I don't recognize, I'll keep an eye on them. No big deal. The neighborhood's pretty safe right now. It's the safest it's been for a long time, I think, compared to previous years that I've lived here. But, I do my part to keep an eye on things. But I'm not going to do that for the Hall of Fame Village. They close a gate around it at night. Yeah, you can hop the gate to get into their water park, but it's not a place that you're supposed to just go up to at all hours just to patrol as a citizen. Right? So I say this. I say what I say. And some guy who lives in an entirely different part of the state who used to live here, which means he's allowed to be connected, because if you move from a place on Nextdoor, you can still claim that you're local just to keep up with your friends that live here, which is kind of, it's a stretch. But he comes on and gets mad. He's real mad. He's like, oh, well, far be it for you to want to protect your neighborhood. That's why Canton is terrible and it sucks as a town. And he went on this big rant about it. I was like, dude, you didn't even listen. You didn't read anything I had to say. I said the Hall of Fame Village. That was the question. The question wasn't, how do we keep our neighborhoods safe in light of what happened at the village? It was, how do you keep the Hall of Fame Village safe? And why, as normal, regular people, is that our problem? It's not. But in his profile picture, he's got a Browns hat on, and he's a sports guy. Obviously, he loves the Hall of Fame. He's a big fan. He's a big sports guy. So he's heavily invested in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that I wasn't heavily invested in the Hall of Fame made him upset. And he went on for several posts, completely childish, just like, oh, you people are so negative, it's disgusting. And it's like, my man, you didn't bother to read what anybody said. You didn't bother to read the original question. You don't even live here anymore. And you're just coming in here to badmouth people. And it's funny to me because it's clearly that he's a sports guy. And the Hall of Fame Village means much more to him than it does to some of the rest of us. And that's fine, if that's how he feels. But that's not my responsibility. It's not any of my immediate neighbors' responsibility. The Hall of Fame is a couple miles up the road. What am I going to do? Am I going to walk those couple miles every day, patrol the Hall of Fame Village, and watch out for vandals? No. Come on. It's unrealistic, and that's all I said. And I'll stick to that. And people get so invested in these things. They get so... I should have gone off the rails and said something stupid. I should have been like, oh, you know what, that's just because clearly they don't do things like this in Pittsburgh. Ha ha ha. Like I was some kind of Pittsburgh fan, which I'm not. I am not a Pittsburgh fan. I don't want any local Browns fans getting like, what did you just say? I'm just using this as a funny example of things I could say to this guy. I'm not a Pittsburgh fan. I don't follow any Pittsburgh teams. If the Browns win the Super Bowl, I'll be in a good mood. It's never going to happen. It will never happen. But if it did happen, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. But this guy, obviously, sports is his, lives and breathes the sports teams and the Browns and whatever, so I get it on some level, I suppose. it, I don't know about people sometimes. They get so into things, they get so obsessive with things, and I don't get into things like that. I don't get so attached to things that I will constantly follow people online and defend my chosen interests to the death. Like, I'm not that attached to that. I like transforming robots, but if somebody online's like, transforming robots suck, and you suck for liking them, I'm not going to go on this 12-page dissertation about how they're wrong and about how great these things are and how they're trash and this and that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be like, well, that's kind of a goofy thing for you to say. It's not going to change how I feel about anything. Good for you. I don't even know you, probably. So what difference does it make? But there are people who will. They're I remember a post somewhere. I don't remember what it was even about. It was either a game or a movie or a book or something where somebody was talking about a character that they liked. And I was like, oh, I was never really a big fan of that character because of this. I liked other parts of this, but I wasn't a big fan of this for this reason. I wasn't mean about it. I didn't say that this character sucks, they're terrible, and they should have been written out, and their character should be killed off and dead. I didn't say anything like that. I was just like, what, I'm not a big fan. I didn't like exactly how it was handled. It's not, But you have 5 or 6 people that jump in with their anime character profile pictures. You know the ones. It's all the same. And they're like, you clearly don't understand the material. You have no idea what you're talking about. This character is the best character of all time. You don't get the character arc. You didn't read it. You didn't bother to even read it. Blah, blah, blah. You're just talking blah. You're talking shit. And there's no talking to them. There's no convincing them. Because no matter what you say, they're going to come back with, oh yeah, right, ha ha ha, now you're backpedaling, and they're going to just double and triple down on whatever you have to say, because obviously you're a friggin' moron for disliking something that they super, super like. And people are like that, and I don't care if you insult something that I like. If you don't like it, whatever. That's no big deal. It's not going to change whether I like it or not. I used to be a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm not anymore. My tastes change. And I like old Star Wars things, but I'm nowhere near as into it as I used to be. But I'm not gonna go into places and be like, you know what, modern Star Wars is the worst, and here's why, and anybody who appreciates it is a piece of trash. I'm not gonna do that, because that's not how I feel. People can like what they like. It's not a big deal. But that's not how people take it. Online, they see something that disagrees with something that they're really, really into, and they have to defend it with every shred of indecency. They will use whatever language they have to feel superior in the end, that I showed him, he'll never come back and say that again, And it's, I don't know if it's a human nature thing or if it's just a modern social media thing or whatever, because like old wrestling back in the day, when people still believed it was real stuff, or at least they were better at suspending disbelief and they convinced themselves that it was real stuff. The bad guy wrestlers would have to be careful. They would have to leave town quick if they did something that really made the crowd upset. Like if they beat the hero and did it in a way that was really disrespectful, the crowd might be looking outside to see what car they drove. They might look to slash your tires or maybe to slash you. if you're the bad guy. They might slash your belly with a knife. It happened. It's not like stuff that... And nowadays, people don't. Nowadays, people like, oh yeah, wrestling, it's fun. And they have their favorites, and they'll defend, like, oh yeah, he doesn't suck. Oh yeah, he does. But it's not to the point where they're going to, cause each other physical harm over it. So, I don't know. These kind of things I wonder about. You'll have people who will go on this thing about how human beings are the most civilized creatures in the entire planet, and if you wipe out enough crime and you do this and you have enough social programs, then no one would have any reason to do anything bad. No one will have to steal anything or kill each other or do whatever, and mental health will go through the roof and everything will be fantastic. And I don't think that's possible. I think human beings are a species of hyper-evolved mammal that relies just as much on instinct as they do intelligent thought. And I think oftentimes we let various feelings and things override our intelligent thought, and there's nothing to be done about it. And the majority are guided more by these emotional responses than they are by their intelligence. It doesn't matter how smart of a species you are, if you have an emotional basis and you have a certain emotional depth, then you have to contend with various feelings that pop up that might color your opinion or alter what your behavior is going to be. And no amount of civilization is going to change that. No amount of education is going to change that. You are always going to get people who want something that someone else has and they don't. You're always going to have people who don't like the look of somebody else and are going to say something not terribly nice about it. You're always going to find people, unfortunately, who have something that switches off in their brain and they end up going on a murderous rampage or just luring people into their home and doing terrible things to them and whatnot. And it's really unfortunate. And that is, unfortunately, human nature. It is... We are an animalistic species, despite how smart we think we are and how... Oh, we have religion, and we have philosophy, and we have technology, and we have all these things, and we're still out killing each other. We're still out kidnapping each other. We're still out doing abusive sexual things to each other. So how are we any better than the rest of the animal kingdom? We justify it. We try to justify it because, oh yeah, well there's this and there's that, and look at all that we've accomplished. Well, sure. But you can't erase that animal instinct for good or for bad. You can't get rid of it. Individually, you can become a ascended person, so to speak. You can become enlightened, as some people would say. But a lot of that just ends up being prideful. Being a more prideful person does not make you a better person. Glorifying in your own abilities does not make you a better person. Using those abilities to the betterment of yourself and other people, sure, that can make you a better person. But bragging about it, talking about it, showing off about it, all that, that doesn't make you a better person. Not in my opinion. But this comes from a person who's not interested in becoming a better person. I am what I am. I've done some great things, I think, in my life, and I've done some pretty terrible things in my life. And I've done my best to apologize to people that I've done bad things to. Some people don't listen. Some people I've tried to contact over the years to be like, hey, you know what, can we bury this hatchet? Can we whatever? And they don't want to talk about it. They're done. And I respect that. I respect it. If you feel that I've done something that horrible to you, well, okay. It doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. That's what you feel, and I'm not going to denigrate your feelings about it, but I do my best to treat people the same. Now, if you go out of your way to do things to me, more than just petty insults, if you try to sabotage my business, if you try to pull my family apart behind my back, if you try to do different things that are a bit more direct, a bit more eminently harmful, I'm not going to put up with that. Evidence has shown that I will come back and I will show you the error of your choices. And I will be pretty unforgiving in those cases. And maybe that's a character flaw. Like this yawn that I keep getting into. Maybe that's one of my character flaws. Maybe I myself am far too obsessive with my own idea of what's justice and what isn't. And I'm sure people are going to disagree with me on what's right and what's wrong and whether my methods are appropriate or not, and that's fine. I respect your thought process. I respect your disagreement. But I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you're going to do what you're going to do, and that's how it's going to be. We're all going to do what we're going to do. Well, it looks like we're not going to get that big old storm. It looks like we're not going to get these big old storms that have been predicted. The radar shows big red-orange blotches coming right over town. And we got some light thunder, a smidge of rain, a little bit of wind. Sounds like the rain is picking up now, actually. But again, it's nothing to be upset about. It's nothing to be concerned about. Oh, I have a follow-up, too. I have a follow-up as we're wrapping up here. I have a follow-up on something. If you remember in one of the previous episodes, I talked about one of the local wildlife in my town. He'd gotten charged with improper lane usage and driving under suspended license, right? And in his defense, he attempted to accuse the city and the court of witness tampering and intimidation. Federal witness tampering and intimidation. He tried to charge them in international court on RICO charges related to that. And he also attempted to deliver a lien on the courthouse building to repossess it for the people, and everybody who worked there under the court system was supposed to be evicted. And if you haven't heard me say this is ridiculous. And I said that in the court docket, because I looked up this case because I was interested in how it was going to go. After they were presented with these documents, they basically they reviewed the motions and they put no action taken. Which meant they looked at them and they're like, what is this guy on? Well, let's just move on. And they ignored them. And the resolution to all that is they've forfeited, they've taken his license. They have it's not just suspended, it's been forfeit. And now he's going to owe them a fine. and a bunch of other things. So, so they obviously gave no consideration to his federal RICO charges and his international terrorism court charges and his lien on the building. I don't know what he thought. I looked him up after the initial, when I heard about these documents. And apparently he's one of those sovereign citizen types, and he believes that you can't pull me over for anything. You can't do this, you can't do that, because I don't recognize your authority, and you can't seize my phone because I'm a sovereign citizen and my phone is part of my property and it's also sovereign. And warrant or not, it doesn't matter. You can't seize it. And that's what he thought, and he's apparently finding out the opposite. So that's how that's developed. Now, you didn't hear it right there. I actually paused the episode for a minute because I kept hearing a noise at the side of the house, and it's raining pretty heavy outside. But this didn't sound like rain. It sounded like somebody was messing with the door that goes into my basement from the outside of the house or something. I don't know what it was. There was a rattling noise at the side of the house. I didn't see anything. I just peeked my head out around the corner because it's really raining, and now I'm soaked partially. But the cats heard it, and they were all like looking over, and I don't know. I don't know what that was. You folks didn't hear it, I'm sure. It's a sensitive mic, but I don't think it's that sensitive. But I don't see anything out there unless they were quick to get behind the vehicle or something by the time I got out there when they heard the door open. You never know. I mean, the neighborhood is pretty peaceful most days nowadays, but every so often somebody wanders in from a neighboring area looking to run through your vehicle or to check your doors, or to, because people are opportunists. People will check whenever they can, and you get that across the city, which is unfortunate. But I don't see anything, so I think I'm safe. I don't know what it was. Maybe I'll put a hat on after I'm done recording and we'll take a closer look with a flashlight or something. I don't know. If you don't hear from me from next week, it means I encountered a beastie. Just kidding. There's nothing. It's not like the back rooms or something all of a sudden. Which there's going to be a back rooms movie, by the way. I don't know if that's anybody's taste. If you don't know what that is, maybe we'll talk about it on the next stream. I don't know. I'm stuck in the wrong language. In the next episode, the next podcast episode. But that's about it. We're winding down now. Oh, one other thing, too. One final thing. And I doubt that any of these people are actually listening to any of these episodes. At least not even this far. They might listen to the first couple minutes and then be like, oh, okay. If you are a quote-unquote podcast promoter and Google search engine optimizing company and all these other things, and you want to offer me your services, don't. I don't need it. Okay? I've gotten multiple people over the last couple weeks. They'll pick out an episode and be like, wow, you have 40 episodes of your podcast, and you know what you don't have? YouTube views. Hey! And they'll go on this big spiel. My YouTube channel has 3,900 subscribers, and the podcast goes there. What are you telling me I don't have any views? What are you talking about? You obviously didn't go and check it out. You didn't investigate any of my my Uncanny Media network, my empire. You didn't check any of that. You just saw that, oh yeah, here's a podcaster. I bet he doesn't know anything. So let's see if we can swindle him out of a few bucks. Guess what? You can't. You can't. I'm not going to hire anybody else to give me better Google search engine optimization, SEO. I'm not going to hire somebody else to do that. I'm handling it myself. I've got it under control. I know what I'm doing. This is episode 59. I'm 59 episodes into this one. And what are you going to offer me that I don't already have? I've got the ad revenue. I'm a Twitch affiliate. I'm a YouTube partner. I'm already connected everywhere you can be connected. I don't need your help. I'm not giving you access. And that's all it is. They want access. They want to get into the guts of my website and my social media, and they want to get their access, and then they can steal it. That's how people's Facebook pages get stolen. That's how that stuff gets stolen. Okay? By letting these random email weirdos get you hook, line, and sinker on a deal to get you better visibility, and then you give them access to your various pages, like, okay, here's your admin privileges so that you can do what you do, and then they take it, and then they lock you out. They've stolen it. They fill it with AI slop, and then there's nothing you can do about it because you gave it to them. Facebook won't give it back because you gave them access. They didn't hack you. It's like I said a couple episodes ago about protecting your internet footprint. So if you are a bot company out there that wants to try to swindle me on this podcast, don't bother. Don't do it. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm not doing it with you. You don't... The one person didn't even know my name. They were like, Danny. And I was like, my name's... Where did you even get that from? There's nothing in any of my first, middle, last, or stage names that rings Danny. There's not. They couldn't get my name right. They didn't know how many episodes I had. They didn't know about my YouTube because they didn't bother to follow up. They just saw that I had this podcast and that I wasn't Joe Rogan with 1 million viewers or 1 million listeners. And they thought, I bet this person's desperate. Let's see what we can get out of him. Guess what? I'm not desperate. And you're going to get nothing. So don't bother. Don't bother. And there's a tip for all you people out there. If you get emails about promotion and things like that and you're unsure about it, let me know. I'll take a look. I'll tell you whether it's legit or not. Because I can tell. I've dealt with them enough. But that's all. That's all we've got. I'm going to get out of here. I will see you folks next week with a brand new shiny episode of the show. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate everybody who follows and subscribes and checks every episode every week. You are everything. So thank you. Have a good night.